news now on BBC One with Emily Matlis.
Please keep looking. A birthday appeal from the parents of Madeleine McCann. Their missing daughter's 4 today. The family is still waiting for news as the search continues. Gordon Brown pledges to put the NHS first in his campaign to become Prime Minister. And it's another big win for Leicester Tigers, on course for an historic treble. Hello, good evening. The parents of Madeleine McCann have marked her 4th birthday by urging people to keep looking and keep praying for their missing daughter. She was abducted from their holiday apartment in Portugal more than a week ago. A new reward for information of £1.5 million has been offered up by a group including Sir Richard Branson, Wayne Rooney and the children's author J.K. Rowling. From the Algarve, Robert Hall reports.
This was always going to be another difficult 24 hours for the McCann family, but once again they've drawn strength from those around them. This evening, applause rang out around the village church, where Madeleine's parents had joined a further prayer vigil. They should have been at home this evening, sharing the family occasion that's so important to any child. Instead, Jerry and Kate McCann were at the heart of another community, a community willing them to hold fast, a community determined that this should still be a special day. Outside the entrance to the resort, yellow ribbons fluttered in spring sunshine. Villagers, holidaymakers of every generation, queuing to create another symbol of their support.
We are here as a community. We are behind them. We're thinking about them. We're praying for the safe return of their daughter.
30 miles away, the town of Lagoa was hosting the Algarve's May Trade Fair.
Hello, can I give you one of these? Put on your stand, it's back for Madeleine. Okay.
Organisers had considered cancelling it. Instead, it became another way of raising public awareness, a focus for those following the news from Loosh.
I could cry every time I watch the news. It's really, really sad. We thought, well, I moved here because I thought it was safe, and I think it's paradise, and now all of a sudden it's not paradise.
As the McCanns spent the day with Madeleine's brother and sister away from the public gaze, some information emerged on the police investigation. 11 people from the Mark Warner Resort have now been questioned, but senior officers say there are no specific suspects. A number of vehicles are also being traced. And every day there are new local initiatives. These riders plan to take their appeal for information from one end of Portugal to the other.
We're going to pass for the country on all the places where it's difficult to see TV or get the news from the magazines and that thing. And we're going to pass the message to see if we find Mandy.
As Madeleine's birthday draws to a close, the message of goodwill from friends and strangers here is unwavering. Well, determination to mark Madeleine's birthday has been shared around the UK, particularly in the McCann's hometown of Rothley. This report from Anthony Bartram.
As they let go, they clung to their hopes for Madeleine's safe return. 50 pink balloons from family and friends in Quenebra, where the McCanns lived until a year ago.
I hope that one day a balloon will find dear Madeleine and she will be back to us soon.
A face to watch out for in the crowds at Celtic, and a desperate auntie handing out Madeleine's picture, appealing for information.
We have 15,000 posters to give out at Celtic Park today, and both teams who are playing here today, Aberdeen and Celtic, are wearing yellow bands in support of the search to find Madeleine. You know, I've had hugs, I've had well wishes, I've had cards passed to me. People constantly ask what they can do to help.
Could I give you some of these to put up? Thank you very much.
More practical help was on hand at East Midlands Airport, as appeal posters were given to holidaymakers as they checked in.
I work for a camping company in France, and we've got campsites in Spain, so we're just going to maybe see if we can put some of these up.
Back in the McCann's home village of Rothley, the vigil continues. 4th birthday cards have joined thousands of yellow ribbons, representing a single hope, a common prayer. People are still coming here, and as you can see, There's precious little space left for them to tie their ribbons. Now, the McCann family asked for plans to mark Madeline's 4th birthday to be scaled down, but there are birthday cards in there, many of them still in their envelopes, as people are willing Madeline and her family to come back here so she can open them herself. Anthony Bartram, BBC News, Rothley.
Well, those of us watching Kate and Jerry McCann this evening were struck most of all by their smiles and by their unshaken hope. Inside the church, Mr. McCann thanked the congregation for all they were doing, and he added, "We look forward to the joyous day when Madeline returns to us."
Robert Hall reporting from the Algarve. Gordon Brown says the NHS will be his big priority if or when he succeeds Tony Blair as Prime Minister. The Chancellor's campaign for the Labour leadership continued today with a pledge to improve patient access. The Conservatives insist he's failing to address fundamental problems, as Carol Walker reports.
He's pursuing his campaign with characteristic drive, even though Gordon Brown may not even face a contest. He knows the NHS is a key concern for many voters.
In total, since we came into government, there are 80,000 more nurses. 80,000.
He spelled out his plans to give patients better access to healthcare through new technology, more walk-in centres and longer opening hours for GP surgeries.
I want an NHS that is there for people when you need it. And so I want to look at those areas where at weekends or out of hours the health service should be there, more accessible, more ready to help people where they need it.
The Chancellor said he wants to build on the reforms of the past 10 years to make the NHS the envy of the world. Gordon Brown clearly has a programme in mind of the changes he intends to make when he gets to number 10, showing there will be real differences with the Blair years, but there'll be no going back on the controversial reforms to the NHS. The government is facing protests over the recruitment of junior doctors and hospital reorganisation. The Conservatives say Gordon Brown has not addressed the fundamental problems.
The key questions in the NHS are how we deliver greater productivity, how we give greater freedom to the front line, how we get decisions made close to patients, how we re-empower and motivate staff right across the NHS. Frankly, all of the things that he said this morning are things that should have been done and would have been done better by a more competent management in the NHS.
Another challenge for Gordon Brown is to show that he does have a lighter side. In Gillingham today, he recalled a previous visit at the last general election.
Not often the chance to get something.
With the man who's about to hand over power.
Tony and I enjoyed our ice creams. Actually, the truth is, we never paid for them. And as a prudent Chancellor, Paul.
You're too kind. Thank you.
Tomorrow it'll be back to serious politics, with new plans to tackle the housing shortage and boost home ownership. Carol Walker, BBC News.
The 10 Tools walk around Dartmoor has been abandoned halfway through because of bad weather. A teenage girl died while training for the event in March. Hundreds of participants will be escorted off the moor tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. A murder investigation is underway after a pregnant teenage girl was found stabbed to death at her home in Bury in Greater Manchester. 17-year-old Sana Ali was found in an upstairs bedroom with multiple knife wounds. She was married and was 2 months pregnant with her first child. Nearly half the people in England don't know that a smoking ban is about to come into force. That's the conclusion of new research done in the run-up to the ban, which begins on July the 1st. The government's launching a new publicity campaign in the hope that more people get the message, as Barney Chowdhury reports.
From July 1st, if it's a public enclosed space or workplace, you won't be able to smoke inside.
We're weeks away from a smoking ban in England, but the government's concerned not everyone knows, so it's launching an awareness campaign.
Yet new research suggests that in England we're vague about the exact details of the ban. Almost half of us don't realise that the ban comes into force on the 1st of July. 4 in 10 businesses aren't aware that they'll have to close smoking rooms. And more than half of companies aren't aware that they'll have to stop smoking in company cars.
Some people say they'll go out more often once there is a ban, but smokers at this working men's club in Luton think it's unfair.
If you can't have a smoke, you can't have a drink without a smoke. It's just discriminating. I think it's absolutely outrageous.
They're depriving me my human rights, and I wouldn't be using the club again after that day.
So at clubs, as well as restaurants and workplaces, you'll be fined if you light up come July. Some workers say the ban won't go down well.
if an individual member does not put his cigarette out, I have no alternative but to call the local enforcement officer of the council or even possibly the police, which is going to make me very, very unpopular because I don't want to get fined.
Despite some concerns over enforcement, ministers say they're confident the new law will work.
More and more people think and believe that they should be able to enjoy their work life, enjoy their social life in a smoke-free environment.
From July 1st,
England is the last place in the UK to bring in the ban, and ministers hope this advert out on Monday will get us ready. Barney Chowdhury, BBC News.
2 months since the kidnapping of the BBC Gaza correspondent Alan Johnston, the Archbishop of York, Dr. John Sentamu, has appealed for his release. Dr. Sentamu made his appeal in an interview broadcast on the Arabic television station Al Jazeera. Lady Thatcher has unveiled a commemorative arch to mark the 25th anniversary of the Falklands War. The ceremony at Fareham in Hampshire was attended by veterans and the crew of HMS Collingwood. Pope Benedict has continued to visit South America with a warning to the continent's drug cartels. After meeting addicts in Brazil, he condemned drug traffickers for the harm they inflict on society, saying God will call you to account. From there, Gary Duffy reports.
A warm welcome for the Pope in the Brazilian countryside. But at this farm devoted to helping former drug addicts, he had some stern words to deliver. In a country and continent plagued with drug problems, his warning to traffickers was that they must answer to God for their actions. I urge drug dealers, he said, to reflect on the grave harm they are inflicting on countless young people and on adults from every level of society. God will demand explanations. The problems of Latin America and the Church are on the Pope's mind as he prepares to open a major conference of bishops in the nearby town of Aparecida. The Church of Our Lady of Aparecida is one of the largest basilicas in the world and a centre of huge devotion among Brazilian Catholics. It's here at their first conference in 15 years that Latin America's bishops will pick up on the Pope's direct plea to help recover those Catholics who've strayed from their faith, many to join rapidly growing evangelical churches. It is, the Pope concedes, a difficult time. The Pope has had an enthusiastic reception here in Brazil, but he will also be hoping his warning over drugs and his plea to maintain Christian family values will not be forgotten once the visit is over. Gary Duffy, BBC News, Aparecida, Brazil.
Now with news of another big win for Leicester Tigers and the rest of the day's sport, here's Sean Fletcher. Hi Sean.
Emily, thanks very much indeed. Good evening. Yes, Leicester Tigers have completed part 2 of what could be an unprecedented treble, with the EDF Energy Cup already in the trophy cabinet and the Heineken Cup final coming up next weekend. They thrashed Gloucester by 44 points to 16 in the climax of the English Rugby Union club season, the Guinness Premiership Playoff Final. Here's Ollie Foster.
The playoff final's only ever a good thing for the side given a second chance. Leicester in this instance, and the RFU, who sold 59,000 tickets for a match to decide which team is the best. Gloucester thought they'd proved that 2 weeks ago. They topped the regular league on points difference, but that achievement over 22 matches counted for nothing as Leicester scored a hatful. 7 tries in all as they cruised to the first domestic double in their history. They led 22-6 at the break. It would have been more had they converted all their extras, but though Andy Good's kicking was a little wayward, as he scored one of Leicester's 4 second-half tries, it was never an issue. The rampaging Alex Tuolangi scored his second try of the match. Leicester had been playoff final losers for the past 2 years, so this was third time lucky for them. And after 2 Twickenham victories in a month, they're back next weekend searching for what would be an incredible treble in the European Cup. Ollie Foster, BBC News.
Wigan are through to the quarter-final of Rugby League's Challenge Cup after a thrilling 22 points to 18 victory over Leeds at Headingley. The scores were level at half-time, but Wigan edged clear in the second period with the former Leeds winger Mark Calderwood scoring his side's third and final try. So it's Wigan's name which will go into Tuesday's draw. More than £30 million, that's what promotion to the Premiership will earn one of the 4 Championship clubs in this season's playoffs. And Derby moved a step closer to the riches of English football's top flight today with a 2-1 victory over Southampton in the first leg of their semi-final at the St Mary's Stadium. Adnan Nawaz reports.
Forget the FA Cup and the Champions League for fans of Southampton and Derby. It's not trophies that interest them at the moment, but rather the riches on offer in the Premiership. There was no margin for error on the South Coast, and there was certainly nothing wrong to fault Andrew Surman's sweet finish in the 7th minute. The history of the playoffs hasn't been kind to the side that finishes 3rd in the Championship table, so the relief for Derby fans when Steve Howard headed home was matched by the celebrations of the goalscorer and his teammates. When Pedro Pelé failed to live up to his famous surname by dragging down Stephen Pearson, Howard completed the turnaround from the spot.
It's Howard. Kwiatkowski got close, but not close.
And it's advantaged Derby ahead of Tuesday's return at Pride Park. Adnan Nawaz, BBC News.
Non-league Stevenage Borough have made their own piece of football history. They've become the first side to win a cup final at the new Wembley after their 3-2 victory over Kidderminster in the FA Carlsberg Trophy. Stevenage came from 2 goals down, with Steve Morrison scoring the late winner. Dunfermline's 7-year spell in the Scottish Premier League has come to an end. They've been relegated following their 2-1 defeat at Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Perhaps they knew it wasn't going to be their day when goalkeeper Doris de Vries made this terrible error for the first Inverness goal. Despite relegation, Dunfermline's season is not over. In 2 weeks' time, they meet Celtic in the Scottish Cup final. Well, Celtic, who are the SPL champions, beat Aberdeen 2-1 today. Falkirk beat Dundee United, and Hearts won the Edinburgh Derby, a result which keeps alive their hopes of qualifying for the UEFA Cup. And finally, St Mirren won 3-2 at Motherwell. Britain's Lewis Hamilton will start from 4th place on the grid in the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona tomorrow. Hamilton had been fastest in practice in his McLaren, but had to settle for 4th and faces a tough task to make it 4 podium finishes in a row. The Brazilian Felipe Massa will start from pole, with world champion Fernando Alonso also on the front row of the grid. And that's all the sport for me for now. Emily.
Sean, thanks very much indeed. The main news tonight: the parents of Madeleine McCann have urged people to keep looking and keep praying for their missing daughter. You can see more on all of today's stories on BBC News 24. We'll have updates on the search, as well as the reward money reaches £2.5 million. But from all of us here, a very good night.
Gordon Brown is Andrew Marr's guest on Sunday AM, tomorrow morning at 9, here on BBC One.
Now, despite the amount of rain we've had, particularly in England and Wales over the last few days, there are no flood warnings. Wet roads, admittedly, huge puddles, but as yet the aquifers are still filling up, which has got to be good news. Still, more heavy rain tomorrow, specifically for England and Wales, means that you can't expect a beautiful end to the weekend. Overnight tonight, as the cloud increases, the rain will come into the southwest. The remaining bits of rain still over the Scottish borders will just about prevent a frost. Still, Sunday dawns rather wet. Once the rain gets into South Wales and the southwest of England, it will last several hours. The 10 tours has now been cancelled, hardly surprising. If you've got cricket or football anywhere south of Leeds during tomorrow, it'll either be cancelled or exceedingly wet. Even by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's likely to be heavily raining and persistently raining in the Midlands, stretching up as far as Manchester, and even where it's drier, for example, in Tyneside. The onshore breeze, and the same is true of eastern Scotland, will make it rather cold feeling and grey and even spotting with rain. The best sunshine for Sunday and Monday is probably northwest Highlands, Scotland, and also Northern Ireland. Not necessarily blue skies, but, you know, bright at least. The amount of rain possible in Wales, anything up to 75 millimetres, or if you like 3, even 4 inches. An awful lot of rain still to go in the aquifer. Late afternoon, the sunshine should come back to the tors of the southwest and creep in with a few showers into the southern counties of England. Cold in the rain, 12 or 13, bit of late sunshine will warm things up. It's still dull, at least in England, on Monday.